Alright, the end of the month, the Captain America shirt's back. You know what that means? It's time for part 4 of my top 100 favorite movies. This is going to be number 70 to 61. Number 70. Fantasia. When being exposed to Disney movies as a kid, my dad actually showed me a lot of the movies that he grew up with, like Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, rather than the movies that were coming out when I was a kid, like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, or The Lion King. But Fantasia was that one movie that I really never watched a whole lot of. I saw clips of it and I just didn't really get it as a kid because it was just music to images. What is this crap? But watching it with an adult mindset, I am so incredibly amazed at how phenomenal this movie is. It's the third animated film to be produced by Walt Disney, and for me, it really cements animation as a work of art. All these segments here are beautifully animated. They fit so perfectly with the piece of classical music that's being used. My favorite segments are the Nutcracker bits, some of them, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, obviously, and Rite of Spring because I'm a dinosaur nut. It's just so immersive in terms of how incredible it is, and it's just a great film overall. If you ever doubted that animation could be art, then Fantasia is the one to say, no, it is art. Number 69. The Town. Also known as the movie that made everyone go, well, we can't make fun of Ben Affleck anymore. At least until he takes on the role of Batman. But regardless, The Town is an incredible heist movie. It's so well directed, the script is tight, the performances from everyone are great, especially from Ben Affleck, who I never thought was a good actor up until this movie, and who knew he would be an amazing director as well. He knows how to generate thrills, especially when it comes to the character of Jeremy Renner. The action scenes are so creative and well choreographed, especially with the car chase in the tiny streets of Boston, and that little enclosed shootout between Jeremy Renner and John Hamm's character, and you're invested in the characters. Even though they're a bunch of criminals, they are not into this lifestyle by choice. They're kind of forced into it. So all the situations they go through, it sucks, and you would like to see Ben Affleck's character get out of it, but you understand the reasons why he's there. The other actors are great. As I mentioned, John Hamm. You also have Rebecca Hall and Blake Lively. It's so on point with how amazing it is. It just ends up being one of the greatest heist films out there. Number 68. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The slasher genre is a genre that's really not too hard to do because it's as simple as teenagers are in an area, whether it's a camp or a neighborhood, a killer comes in, kills them off one after another, and they kind of have to stop the killer. But Nightmare on Elm Street takes it to a new degree, something that at the time has never been done before. Freddy Krueger is a killer that's in the dreams, and if you die in the dream, you die in real life. So it just raises the stakes on these teenagers living. Half of the cast is really good. The one that stands out is Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger because he embodies that character and has made him one of the greatest figures in all of horror, and Wes Craven's direction is outstanding. It's imaginative. It's really a movie that kind of scares me at points. It has its few funny moments, but it's mostly a horror movie, and shows that, yeah, you can take something as generic as a slasher movie, and if you put a lot of creativity and imagination to it, it can come out as something truly special. And that's what A Nightmare on Elm Street really is. A slasher movie that is truly something special. But this movie wouldn't have been shit without... Number 67. Halloween. Even though this is not the first slasher movie to exist, there's Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and even Psycho, Halloween is the movie that really kicked off the entire genre, and everybody wanted to replicate it. And some of them, like Nightmare on Elm Street, actually managed to become their own thing, whereas most other movies just kind of became a ripoff. Where Halloween succeeds is in its atmosphere. It's not really that graphic. It builds on suspension and terror with Michael Myers, who, like Freddy Krueger, is one of the most iconic figures in horror out there. The score by John Carpenter is so tension-filled, and the Halloween theme itself is one of the greatest themes in horror movies ever. Donald Pleasance is great, Jamie Lee Curtis is great. It just gives you that creepy feel and the perfect movie to watch around Halloween. And this is one of the big horror movies that really leaves an impact on me in terms of just leaving me scared more than anything supernatural. It's one of the perfect slasher movies out there, and for lack of a better word, one of the best Halloween movies out there. Number 66. First Blood. Your first instinct when you look at this movie is, oh, another Sylvester Stallone action movie where he's got a gun, he's gonna shoot up a bunch of bad guys, yada yada yada. But that's not what First Blood is about. First Blood is sort of a commentary about Vietnam vets coming home from the war and realizing that they're not getting the proper treatment. Sylvester Stallone plays John Rambo, and when he enters this town, he is abused by the cops, he's thrown out. They don't torture him, but they really are abusive to him to where John Rambo has to start a war against the entire police force, but it's all based on stealth and ingenuity. There's only one person that gets killed in the movie, and it's by total accident. It's thrilling, the theme by Jerry Goldsmith is great, and Sylvester Stallone gives one of the best dramatic performances of his career right next to Rocky, especially with the huge monologue where he just breaks down crying, something you rarely see action movies do. I enjoy some goofy action movies here and there, like Rambo First Blood Part 2 has its enjoyable moments, but it cannot top what First Blood does. Rambo First Blood Part 2 is dumb fun. This is excellent filmmaking in terms of an action movie. Number 65. A Shot in the Dark. This is my favorite of the Pink Panther movies, and surprisingly, it's the only one that doesn't have Pink Panther in the title. Shot in the Dark is incredibly memorable for me. It's got the best comedy of the series in my opinion. Peter Sellers is excellent as Inspector Clouseau, and this is the movie that really defined the character as being an icon in terms of comedy. The direction is great, the score by Henry Mancini, even though it does not have the Pink Panther theme, is still incredible. All the comedy works because you have all these characters that are put into situations that are just built upon comedy. It doesn't solely rely on slapstick, and it's just overall clever. One of my favorite comedies and one of my favorite movies ever. I love A Shot in the Dark. Number 64. A Fistful of Dollars. Similar to how Halloween pretty much defined and kicked off the slasher genre, A Fistful of Dollars defined and kicked off the spaghetti western. This is a completely new way of making western films, different from movies like The Magnificent Seven or The Searchers. It's got all the iconic moments that you've seen in other movies afterwards, like the iconic score by Ennio Morricone, the cinematography, the wonderful direction by Sergio Leone, and the great performance by Clint Eastwood as the man with no name. Sure, it's an unofficial remake of Yojimbo, and sure, it's not as good as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it's still an amazing movie on its own. It's short, it's straight to the point, the action's exciting, and there are a lot of suspenseful moments throughout. Good and the Bad and the Ugly gets a lot of praise, and rightfully so, but if you've never seen Fistful of Dollars, definitely check this one out. Number 63. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This is one of the most quotable movies for me out there, and one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's obviously the best of the Monty Python movies. The cast works great together, and again, it's just so quotable. You have so many lines here like, "Bring out your dead, I'm not dead yet, I'll be stone dead in a moment. Camelot, Camelot, it's only a level. Shh. There he is! What, behind the rabbit? It is a rabbit!" It's just incredibly goofy, but at the same time, it's so clever. Monty Python is one of the few products out there that can really blend goofy comedy and clever comedy, and it just works out brilliantly in Monty Python, the Holy Grail. And what's also great about it is that you don't even have to be familiar with Monty Python's Flying Circus. It can stand on its own, so if you've never seen Monty Python, the Holy Grail, please watch it, and I imagine you'll end up quoting a lot of this movie as well. Number 62. Gremlins. I've already reviewed this movie last year during Christmas time, so I don't know what else I have to say, but this is one of my favorite monster movies out there. It manages to make you root for the monsters, and you want to see them tear up a town and just go on the rampage, but you also care about the human characters as well. The two leads are really good. The little gremlin Gizmo is just so adorable. You buy the dynamic between him and the main character, Billy, And Phoebe Cates, even though she has probably the most weird, out-of-context scene ever, with the story of how she discovered that Santa Claus isn't real, you are invested in that, and you feel sorry for her. On top of all that, it has some great animatronic work, and it very much is a horror comedy. And in a way, it's a weird movie to watch around Christmas. If you're one of the people out there that wants to get in a Christmas mood when the time comes, but you don't want to go for the traditional Christmas movies, Gremlins, along with Die Hard, are my go-to picks. Number 61. All That Jazz. The first time I ever saw this movie was in a film class, and wow, did it leave an impact on me. I've seen this movie one other time since then, and with an older mindset, I just managed to find so much more in this movie and how deep it is. On the surface, it is a simple plot, but there is so much going on with this movie, and Roy Scheider is incredible. My favorite performance of his will always be Chief Brody in Jaws, but this is the movie that got him an Oscar nomination, and rightfully so, because his character is just so interesting. He's egotistical, he's trying to set up a Broadway musical, trying to edit a film, while at the same time dealing with a bunch of drugs and alcohol, and he just manages to keep on going. At points he can be a real scumbag, but you really do admire the guy for his dedication to some things, not so much to cheating and all that bullshit. And I feel like if it wasn't for Roy Scheider's performance, I wouldn't love this movie as much as I do. I discover a lot of new things whenever I revisit this movie, and it's just great. One of my favorite dance movies out there, because I'm hesitant to call it a musical, because it's more about the dance choreography than anything else. If you've never seen All That Jazz, definitely check this one out. It will impress you the way it did me. And there you go, those are my favorite movies from number 70 to 61. Tune in next month for part 5, where I'll be talking about my favorite movies from 60 to 51. Now I want to hear what you guys have to say. What are your favorite movies in this section of a 100 list? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of the movies I picked? And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and of course leave a comment. Don't forget to support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.